Such a severe injury needed immediate hospital treatment. Just as the paramedics were about to stabilize the straw, the sight of the light red blood caught their attention.
This isn't blood, this is cerebrospinal fluid. The straw must have pierced her cranial cavity. We have to call ahead and get her to neurosurgery fast.
The girl had only injured her mouth. Her hearing was unaffected. The paramedics' words completely terrified her. The paramedics quickly had the dog taken away, tried to calm the girl. If the girl became too agitated and moved the straw, the consequences could be disastrous. But in such a situation, who could remain calm? At this critical moment, the pink cup on the floor gave the paramedics an idea.
You have the limited edition pink tumbler? I stood in line in the cold for 2 hours trying to get my hands on one of those.
The girl's emotions soon calmed down. They quickly rushed her to the hospital. Fortunately, the wound was shallow and treated in time, the girl was soon out of danger. Just because he owed 6 months' rent, a man decided to seal himself tightly in the bathtub with cement. He feared being thrown out by the landlord if he accidentally fell asleep. This quirky train of thought isn't something just anyone would come up with.
I have to be here. I made a promise.
As the man trembled all over, the concrete pressed against his body, disrupting his blood flow. But he vehemently resisted the firefighters' attempts to help him.
Get that away from me!
Rambling nonsensically, he claimed angels were coming to take him to heaven. The firefighters suspected something was off with him. A firefighter who forgot to turn off his headlamp walked in.
You're here.
Another firefighter quickly realized the situation, also turned on his headlamp.
Listen, don't tell anyone. You had to come in disguise.
The man thought the angels had come to take him, feeling incredibly excited.
I got pins and needles all over.
That's part of the plan, but you did great.
All the firefighters played along with his delusion. The firefighters began cutting through the cement, trying their best not to damage the bathtub, as the man surely couldn't afford to replace it. They stuffed their friend into the ship's ventilation duct because they were all drunk at the party. The duct led directly to the ship's engine. Falling in would result in a flattened head. The man inside the duct struggled incessantly, on the brink of falling. Firefighters held onto his feet tightly but couldn't pull him up. The man couldn't hear them, and his struggles intensified. It seemed they had to cut open the duct. He called for teammates to bring cutting tools for support. A leader watching nearby voiced concerns, saying it was too dangerous, as the man's head was stuck downward and could be decapitated at any moment. But the firefighters assured it would be a small incision, not harming the person inside. Seeing no other option, the leader reluctantly agreed. The firefighters began cutting with a saw. As a gap opened, they collectively lifted the duct opening. Then they hoisted the man out. But when he came out, his first words were,
Hey, you okay? You good? Oh, man. I need a drink. All right, you okay?
No matter how the paramedics tried to inquire, the woman remained tight-lipped, refusing to speak.
Look, she thought this was her lip gloss, but it's glue.
It was then they realized the woman couldn't speak, not because she didn't want to, but because she couldn't. With a growing sense of urgency, the woman's breathing became increasingly rapid. The paramedics quickly inserted a tube into her nostrils, lubricating it to ensure her breathing remained unobstructed.
Does anybody have any acetone-based nail polish remover?
I do.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
Nail polish remover reacts with glue, dissolving it. The paramedic lightly dabbed the woman's lip, and miraculously, her mouth slowly opened as expected. A man went for a haircut and ended up losing an entire ear. As the paramedics entered the shop, the man, holding a towel to his face, was furiously yelling at the barber. The paramedics took the towel away and saw a large wound where the man's ear should have been, with the ear lying on the floor. The barber stood nearby, stunned, probably thinking about how much compensation he'd have to pay. The paramedics asked him to get a plastic bag filled with ice.
You can take that man's ear and fix it back on his head.
We are gonna give it a fighting chance.
The store manager sighed in relief, fearing the compensation might leave them penniless. The paramedics bandaged the man, who kept screaming in pain. The barber returned with a bag of ice, but hesitated when he saw the ear on the floor. A paramedic quickly grabbed the ice, picked up the ear, and placed it in the bag, all while the barber looked on in horror. She then asked the man if he could walk on his own.
Can you walk?
Yeah, I can walk. He hasn't cut my legs off, at least not yet.
The barber felt both embarrassed and scared. Unexpectedly, as the paramedics and the injured man were about to leave,
Who's next?
the children were swimming in the pool. The lifeguard tried to save someone, but ended up collapsing himself the next second. Firefighters split up, using ropes to pull the 2 people on the shore to safety. One child thought it was fun, swim towards the dangerous area. A firefighter jumped into the water to try to persuade him to come back, but the child swam further away, forcing the firefighter to swim over and grab him. Meanwhile, another firefighter attempted to reach the control room to shut off the power, but encountered a locked security door.
We got a steel door lock tight!
The firefighters on the shore used a rope to hook the electric wires, preventing them from falling into the pool. The firefighters swam as fast as they could towards the shore with the child, but their firefighting suits were quite heavy in the water. At the critical moment, the firefighter managed to open the security door and quickly shut off the power. The nearly roasted firefighters were grateful to be alive. A woman was impaled by a forklift and was screaming in agony. The supermarket manager tried to explain the situation.
This is not my operator's fault. She must have gone around the barricade.
This was not the time to discuss liability. The paramedics found that the injury was dangerously close to her spine.
I know that's a serious piece of metal, but is there any way for us to leave it in place? If we remove it on site, I doubt she'll survive the hemorrhaging.
The captain called for a power saw. As the firefighters prepared to cut, they realized that the forklift driver, in a state of panic, had inadvertently raised the forks. If they cut the forks without adjustment, the woman would surely die. However, the manager objected to making adjustments, citing safety regulations. The captain, not in the mood to argue, called over a firefighter skilled with forklifts to make the necessary adjustments. Once the forks were properly positioned, they proceeded with the cutting. After cutting through the forks, the injured woman was carefully lifted onto a stretcher. A serious car accident sent a car flying up to the 2nd floor. Firefighters were baffled how the hell the car got up there. Luckily, it was during the holidays. The office was empty. Since it was the car's first flight, it hovered at a precarious angle, ready to drop at any moment. Firefighters quickly secured the car with ropes, anchoring one end temporarily to the door frame. Then they climbed up the ladder to rescue the driver. However, the driver's foot was jammed firmly on the accelerator. Firefighters had to take the risk of entering the car, but the door frame began to deform.
We're falling! Okay.
The captain immediately jumped onto the car hood, using his weight to maintain balance. Others swiftly reinforced with ropes, trying to stabilize the car. Finally, the man was quickly transferred to the ladder outside the vehicle, but the balance was disrupted. The firefighters inside quickly evacuated the vehicle. The thief got caught on the security wire fence while trying to escape. The more he struggled, the tighter it wrapped around him, causing him to scream in pain. Firefighters sent a team member up to the man, first securing him with a safety rope to ease the pressure from the wire. However, the man was losing blood quickly and couldn't hold on much longer. Medical personnel couldn't treat him until he was safely down. Cutting the wires one by one would take too long, and the wire embedded in his thigh was in a bad position.
Yeah, that's why I want to bring him down so the medics can stop the bleeding.
I say we should keep him stable.
They decided to bring the man down along with the wires. The rescue team climbed to the roof, cut the fence on both sides, then cut the fixed steel pipes, and slowly lowered the man. Paramedics quickly pushed the stretcher over. He couldn't lie flat yet, as the barbed wires all over his body could be fatal. Once the wires were carefully removed, he was finally laid flat on the stretcher. But as the wire in his thigh was cut, blood spurted out, and the paramedics quickly pressed a gauze pad on it before rushing him to the hospital.